I'm Carol Reynolds, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Mr. Omar Thomas and with Mr. Mark Norman. Together, these two will be bringing an extraordinary concert here to the Winston-Salem area with the Piedmont Wind Symphony and also a residency at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here, and I just can't wait to start hearing what is about to happen. Mark, would you say something about how this all started?
Sure. Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, about 8 or 9 months ago, we were looking at some possibilities because of a couple of combinations of events. One, Piedmont Wind Symphony, looking at our new season. We were talking about guest artists we wanted to have here. I've actually been trying to get Omar here for a while, going through Sarah to see when dates would finally work. And we did find a date that worked. And that happened to coincide with the North Carolina Music Educators Conference, which Piedmont Wind Symphony is playing at that conference on November 6th. So that became a big attraction for the conference. The conference really rallied behind that. And then, of course, I also teach at UNCSA. I'm the director of instrumental ensembles, and it's a natural pairing. This is a great partnership that we have. And so I approached Omar and said, here's some of my crazy things I want to do, and if you'll play my reindeer games, here they are. And he's been very, very generous with being able to or being willing to come in and work with our students at UNCSA in many capacities, and then also working with the Piedmont Wind Symphony and joining us in performance for both concerts on November 4th. At the Stevens Center at 7:30, which is a combination concert with Piedmont Wind Symphony and UNCSA Wind Ensemble. And again, November 6th, the Piedmont Wind Symphony playing after the general session at the North Carolina Music Educators Conference. So again, my great thanks to Omar for one, everything you are and all the music you're producing, but also being so willing to share and come out and joining us for this incredible week.
Well, Omar, I feel I'm just a great fan of yours, and you already know that. And it's going to be it must be a strange feeling to come into an area. I don't know if you've been to Winston or if you've worked together, but you got a lot going on in a short amount of time, and you're also going to be meeting with a lot of students. And is that sort of take you back to your own days when you were studying? Does that tell us a little bit about what that feels like to come in both as a composer and a teacher, a mentor, a community figure? Is that a great combination? Is it, how is it?
Well, every time I go, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Mark. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Every time I embark on a new residency, it's a whole different universe. It's a different ecosystem. It's a different, set of educators. It's a different set of students. It's a different environment. It's a different audience. So I kind of go in a blank slate, ready to absorb and reflect the energy of wherever it is that I am. So I just kind of insert myself in and be as fully present as I can and make sure that I give, what I have to offer and that I am receiving and listening. And so it becomes a mutually beneficial experience and conversations and music making, just kind of all around. That's always the plan.
Cool. That's the Napoleon battle plan, right? Just show up and see what happens.
But this is going to be way different than that.
That's good.
Your music, I mean, Mark said, I think either you said explosive or I meant to say explosive, but I've been in a bunch of concerts where your repertoire is played and nobody's the same after that piece. I don't think I'm exaggerating, am I, Mark?
Oh no, this is the moment I mentioned this piece to the performers in the Piedmont Wind Symphony. When I said we're going to do Come Sunday, there was like a sudden kind of roar of yes, and because so many of them have heard it before, and the recording I like to share with them is the Baylor recording because of the audience reaction with it, and that's what I hope for that at NCMEA. I hope they do that. But how it engages the audience and how it just pulls your emotions right out of you, and it just puts joy back in you, and that's just so much what we need right now. So when we were talking about putting this concert together, it's the very first thing I thought of was Come Sunday, and so the students right now are working on the Low Down Brown Get Down, which is really challenging, especially all the inflections and articulations and the style, and them getting to learn a completely different genre, which I was surrounded by when I grew up. So I knew this music. So I feel like I'm coming home a little bit, to be honest. And it's been just fun to watch them. And after the last rehearsal, we went on for about an hour and 15 minutes on it. And I stopped and I just looked at them and said, this is fun. And they all went, yes, this is fun and hard. And so it's really fun because it's challenging and it's engaging again. And they're learning so much from it. And so this is kind of the perfect combination of inspiration, education, and what's next. Like, let's do more. So again, we're really looking forward to this.
Well,
Yeah.
Omar, it wasn't that long ago that you were one of those students. And how long have you wanted to compose music? How did you start with this entire direction? And your directions are really evolving right now, from what I've heard, into musical directions that are absolutely new. It sounds like to me. Tell us a bit about that, please.
I mean, long story short, I've been in concert bands ever since fourth grade, straight through college, and I joined jazz ensemble in middle school and did both of them concurrently, and I'm just always bothered by how different the musical and cultural experiences were in both ensembles, and I didn't feel like it had to be that way. And so my approach to wind ensemble that I'm still developing every day, I think about it all day, every day. It's kind of an obsessive thought. Is that is to use the wind ensemble as an instrument and not a genre. And so to just really figure out what it is that I want to say and how to use this collection of instruments to say that thing. And like I said, I don't feel like I figured anything out yet. It's like the more I figure out, the more I realize there's just so much more to figure out. So it's an ongoing process. I've been very fortunate that everyone has been so warm and receptive of the work that I've done so far. And I'm looking forward to honing that and being more and more clear about what my vision is for this medium on the stage, for the musicians, and for anybody who comes into contact with it.
Well, the story of Come Sunday is going to be in a program note, and it's easy to find it. But could you summarize it a little bit for someone who might not necessarily pull it up online or be able to be at that concert?
Sure. I mean, for me, it was always one of the most obvious things in the world for that piece to exist. And it was kind of shocking to me that it didn't exist at that time. I mean, on one hand, it's shocking. On the other hand, it go figure that it hadn't existed yet in this medium. And so I've been thinking about it for a while, and I decided to be the person to write this music. There is a long, centuries-old tradition of sacred music being brought to the concert stage and being the inspiration for all mediums of art. And somehow, mysteriously, it seems like, Black American sacred music just completely missed, the concert band train. And so I decided to kind of, flag the train down and put in the station and to throw this piece on there.
Well, you've done a lot to fix that. I tell
Absolutely.
you what, and to bring a new audience in. Your fans, and Mark, I mean, this is always a struggle in the concert world. Your fans are young and they're excited,
Yeah.
and that's not an easy thing to make happen.
Yeah, that's very true because, it's actually kind of an advantage that concert bands have over orchestras a little bit because, our romantic period is now. Every major composer is really starting to find this medium and start to see what the different timbres and colors are. But then when you get a composer like Omar it's so real. The music is so genuine. And like you said, you make the instrument, you make it, the wind sound like an instrument, and it's very enlightening. But what I mean by we have an advantage. The advantage is that our compositions are including many, many different styles, cultures, and genres. It's not just the classical period. It's not just stuck in a small portion of the world. It's including all of the world. And so our music actually, I think, approaches the younger generations in a much more direct fashion than, what music written in the 1800s for orchestra was doing. I mean, it was suiting its community, but this community is now much bigger, much broader. And so we have an advantage in that in regard. We try to embrace that with Piedmont Wednesday. If you'll see this program that we're doing, everything's written in the 2010s and younger. So it really is a now thing for us. And and again, that's why we need people like Omar to bring the best out of our ensembles and the best sounds, the best different ideas, to share those ideas, and the young people seem to embrace it. So we go for that. That's absolutely part of our audience building, is we want to address the new generations of music goers. What do you want to hear? How can we do it well? We want to do it great, and so make it worth your while. So this is we are what we play. I feel like we're in really good hands.
Um, Omar, so when I think about composers, I wonder if a composer in this time, in this day, with your style, still works in the old-fashioned way. I mean, do you take staff paper and a pen and a quill and a pot of ink? Or are you working with technology? How do you approach the physical art of composing?
Sure, I think it's different for everyone. Everyone needs to find their rhythm. I prefer pencil and paper uh, as opposed to going directly towards technology. I eventually make my way to the technology, but personally, I find that trying to get ideas from in my mind to the technology adds a level of buffer, and it's just another couple of hurdles that I need to jump over. So I've got kind of staff paper everywhere and pencils everywhere that I can just access it when I need to. And again, that's just me. I know plenty of absolutely amazing composers who work directly into technology. So everybody finds their own rhythm, and we all use the tools available to us to try to get as close to the ideas as we hear them in our heads as possible.
Well, and that's kind of exciting as an old music historian to hear that, because let's face it, paper it does have that physicality of encouraging, I think, a lot. As you say, everyone has to do it his or her own way. But today there's so much available. And speaking about available, you're going to be here a number of days. What kinds of things will you be doing with students? I mean, we said you're in residency, but do you have a schedule yet? Do you kind of envision well, he's the schedule. Okay,
Finally
he's the
has a
schedule.
schedule, yes. Finally a final schedule.
I mean, well, let me ask you: when you walk into the UNCSA Wind Ensemble and they're playing your piece or your pieces, or when you go into a composition student, what do you just what does that look like? Because it seems so important.
I usually go in, well, I said blank slate, that is true, but also I've heard this music in my head for so long that there are certain ways that I hear things, and I see where they are and how they're communicating, and then I go and, just try to help with the vernacular of the music, with the lexicon, with the style, with the dialogue, and just try to make that part happen. One thing that I'm noticing with the music that I'm wanting to write is that there is a real kind of finiteness to what you can write down and what you can communicate via a page, and there's a whole lexicon. There's a way of speaking that you can't communicate via written music, and so that's kind of where I come in. And I just kind of teach them how to speak that language as best as I can in the short amount of time that we have together.
Yeah.
So are they a lot kind of looser and more relaxed when you finish with them? Does the energy change? Let's say you have an hour with them. What happens in that hour?
Well, it depends. It depends on how much exposure they've had to the language before and how much they've been working on that. But it's I almost think of myself as a dialect coach. If that makes sense.
It really does.
It's kind of like reading French off of a page versus learning how to actually make the music of the language. And that's literally the barrier that I encounter with written music, is that you just can't convey the sound of French on the page. It's written a certain way, but you have to pronounce it and speak it a certain way. And so that's why I come in. I go in and I just try to be a bit of a dialect coach.
Awesome.
Well, I know it's going to make a wonderful set of days, an exhausting set of days, but an exhilarating set of days. I think it's fantastic you could arrange all this. Mark, any thoughts that you want to kind of get out of Omar where we have this opportunity to
Well,
have him?
I think this is the thing about us, furthering the cause. Like we are doing the next things. I think Omar probably has the same thing. The memories of how other people in our lives brought people like Omar into our lives. And I remember the first time I met Carol for example, and that was one of the most incredible experiences in my life, and I remember it forever. And for me, I feel like that's my job. My job is to bring these wonderful guest artists so our students can gain those same experiences and they'll have those aha moments. Man, that's, and they can happen at any time. But I think in this case, I think our students are just so looking forward to what's going on. And again, I think that's what we do. That's what we should do as music educators, as performers, as conductors, as leaders, to provide those opportunities. So again, we're really looking forward to it. Again, Omar, thank you so much for joining us, and really looking forward
Yeah,
to
looking
a couple
forward
of
to
weeks
this.
from now. Yeah.